Okay, y'all, I think we'll go ahead and get started. And I'll introduce our speaker. Today we'll have Dr. Ryan Melvin, who's an associate professor in UAB's Department of Anesthesiology and Perioperative Medicine, where he also serves as the endowed faculty scholar for data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. His work centers on machine learning, predictive analytics, AI applications in medicine, and here at UAB, he's been one of the first few people to actually get an actual AI model service and really go through the process and learn how to, I think, practically use it, but also ethically use it via UAB standards. So he will give us a talk today.
Okay. So he promised to talk about coding agents, so I'll get the hard part out of the way first. There are no fully approved coding agents at UAB. But there are some that are more likely than others to be approved, and so I'll walk you through that. First off, can I get show of hands in the room at least? It might be a little harder on Zoom. I guess you could just say yes in the chat or something, or give a thumbs up response. Who's used a coding agent? Coding agent. All right. Okay, cool. Claude Code in particular. Codex, coding agent. Google Anti-Gravity. All right. And last one, Open Code. Okay, so one person's used them all. Fantastic. I'll show you a few things, but that helps me with context. So first off, there are a few people who said they've never used a coding agent. A coding agent is the combination of a piece of software and a large language model, like ChatGPT, etc., for the purpose of writing code in complex ways. So this is often a piece of software that will live on your computer, can access your local folders, your local repositories, can probably even connect to the internet and access your GitHub repositories, and operate with the full context of all the code for a project instead of just writing like a one-off script. It can operate on fairly complex projects. In between large language models and coding agents, there's also something that's become called vibe coding platforms. So these are a little more powerful than large language models by themselves. And these are not quite as complex as coding agents because they're much more narrow in scope. They live in one place. They often build like a one-off, almost single script app, but they help you deploy it. There is an actual UAB solution for that. And I'm going to show you that first. I'll write these down and we'll make sure they all go out in an email as well. But the first address I'm going to go to, I'm just going to flash it real quick and then show it to you, is vibe.powerapps.com. This is a Microsoft product. You don't have to capitalize the V. That was an autocorrect. But I have vibe.powerapps.com here. And when I come to it, it's rather obtuse. It actually just says you can't do anything. So what you have to do is first, if you're on your UABMC account, which I am, I'm going to have to switch to my UAB account. So I'm going to sign out of UABMC, sign into, oh my goodness, it's going to make me start over. Live demos. So we'll at least see the real way of doing this. All right. So let me in this time, but that's because the very first time I did this, I came down here to the environments area. So even when I signed into my UAB account the very first time, it said, nope, you still can't do this. You have to come down here and create an environment. Why Microsoft has chosen to make it so that that's the sequence of buttons. Get access eludes all of us, but you come down here, you click the thing that it says isn't working, and then you choose create environment. And then once you've done that, it'll let you see this screen here, where you can describe what you want to build. This is very much like Google AI Studio, if you've ever used that, or Claude Artifacts, if you've used those. We'll get it started making one, but then I'm going to switch over to one that I've actually built before. Let's see, I almost want to do like from the audience. Does anybody have a random like thing they wish they could calculate quickly? Nobody? All right. I'm going to do a dumb one then. I want a calculator that takes mgs per kg and patient weight in pounds and gives dosage. All right, let it go. And then this is going to probably ask me some questions. But while it's thinking about that, I'm going to open up another tab to show you things I've done with this before. So Julia Child style, fully baked. So I have one in here that's just a demo. Nobody's using these clinically, and you shouldn't. You would have to get special permission from the health system. But when this one loads, what it does is it takes a radiology report and tries to detect both what was the principal finding. So I'm just going to load my sample report here. And what were the incidental findings? It's kind of small. And over here on the left, I can give it feedback. So I loaded my sample here. This is a CT of abdomen and pelvis, 34-year-old male, right lower quadrant pain. We're looking for appendicitis. Okay, so we did the CT. And what this tool does is, if it works, this is Microsoft has been actively developing this, so it may break my old apps. But it's going to pull out other findings that I intentionally hid in here, and I forgot what they were, but I gave it a list. I said, hide these 4 findings in the text. They're not the principal finding. And we're going to see if it can pull out our other findings. But to do this, I just described what I wanted over here in the chat. And I said, I want an app that will look at radiology reports. Yeah, there we go. And pull out incidental findings. And then it wasn't quite getting it. So you can see I said, let's filter by severity, etc. Let's go back to our other one over here. All right, it's asking me questions. I said, I want a calculator that takes dosage per kilogram and patient weight in pounds. It gave me a plan, etc. I'm just going to submit and take the plan. And then it's going to take a little while. It's actually going to write a TypeScript app, if you know the language TypeScript. And if it requires databases, this product will actually try to set up databases on Microsoft servers that your app can use. This one shouldn't require that. The radiology one maybe did. So again, this is at vibe.powerapps.com. You can access it through your UAB, not your UABMC Microsoft account. And you could use it right now. No, there are no tools that are blanket approved for patient data, so you can't do that. You would need to contact HSIS first to get their permission. But if you're just doing this for, I need something to help me summarize my email, I need something that looks at this short sequence and does blank, blank, and blank with it, or this set of short sequences and does X, Y, and Z with it, you could totally make that with the vibes.power app thing. Let's see, a second. That is the closest I can get you to a fully approved UAB solution at the moment. Again, we started with the hard truth is there are no fully approved coding agents for UAB. So here's our calculator.
Question.
Yeah.
One thing that we're exploring, getting into a point where we then talk to HSIS is, can you take the identified data and play with it in that realm to say, can you do what I want you to do? And then at that point, either use it to write the code and then you then propose it to HSIS. Is that acceptable?
If you're doing the propose it to HSIS part, yes, absolutely. And in fact, if you want, there's a specific email that they've set up to take in those requests. It's UAB.ai, uabmc.edu. So what you just described would be perfect. There is a possibility that they're going to loosen the restriction on de-identified data. They're working with campus side to figure out where they want that to land. At the moment, there's no way they're going to loosen the restriction on PHI. And for the time being, you still have to ask them if you're using any kind of patient data, including de-identified. But they're working on a plan with the president's office.
Azure or
this is through it's a separate Microsoft product from all of that. It's their coding agent or vibe coding platform.
but it's the same thing that they behind the HSIS wall.
It's the same thing that you would use if you were talking to Copilot signed into your, this one would be signed into your UAB account. So it's sort of Copilot. Microsoft's really bad at naming.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm sort of a beginner at this too. I thought UAB allowed you to upgrade your Copilot
Yes.
and get Claude.
Yes, that's right.
And
But not Claude Code.
But not Claude Code. So so what you're saying is there's a really huge difference between Claude and Claude Code when it comes to trying to create.
Yep. So remember when I said that there is a piece of software and a large language model?
Yeah.
Claude is the large language model. Claude Code is the piece of software. And it's the piece of software called Claude Code that is not approved for use at UAB at the moment. Yeah.
But you can still do some coding in Claude.
Yes. But the beauty of Claude Code is if you have really complex projects that have multiple files, maybe they're object oriented, like how my team codes, Claude is not going to cut it because we'd have to copy 100 files in.
like this one was going and grabbing them all by itself, like.
Yeah. And we can actually see, again, they change this daily. So there was a point where you could see the code that it wrote. Let's see. I'm not seeing it right now though. Plan, data, app. Yeah, but there you go. You can see my, let's do, I'm about 195, or no, that's dosage. So let's say 10 and 195. And obviously, because I told it I want to convert to kilograms first, it's doing that down here. So you can see mass in kilograms, and it should just be 10 times that, which looks right. So that's a very simple app. You can also tell this to use an AI in the background. Those take a little longer to build, but if you wanted to do something, and I'll show you one that I built that will hopefully not break like my other one did. So I have another one that I built called Smart Brevity Processor. And all it does is it takes a journal article or a popular article, like something from Harvard Business Review, and gives me a 4-sentence summary of what's happening. And this one actually uses an AI in the background. So it even, when I was building it, it said, hey, is it okay for me to connect to your Copilot account to use that? So I'm going to upload this article. And now it's going to give me the 4-sentence summary. And all I did was tell it, I want an app that takes a journal article and gives me a 4-sentence summary. Hopefully this one will work. But again, I said, Microsoft is actively developing this. So things that work one day sometimes don't work the next day. Yeah.
Can we click the source code and then do the manual changes to the apps?
So you can in Google's AI Studio, but I'm not seeing it here. Wait, hold on. There we go. Yes, you can.
So this is what kind of app is this? A React Native or like?
It's all TypeScript. I'm not sure what framework this is using. You could look through and see though.
We can access the restructure.
Say that again.
We can access the coding restructure.
Yep, you can. So you can see it right here. You could pull it all down if you wanted to, it looks like. Maybe not all at once. But yeah, you could download these, you could copy this. I'm not talking to you, Siri. All right, so that's Vibe Power Apps. There's a lot you could do with this. The publish button does usually work, so you can publish it. You can then share it with people. You do have to explicitly enter their email addresses. Otherwise, it won't let them access it. That's the only hiccup there. And they need to be, for this, uab.edu email addresses. So you can see I've got one in there. All right. So again, that's as close as I can get you to approved coding agent right now at UAB. But there are some that are more, like I said at the beginning, or less likely to get approved. The one that is actively working its way through security approval, I'm pushing it through, Brian Rivers, campus CTO, is pushing it through, is OpenCode. So I'll show you OpenCode next. I think since if we're on a UAB network, we might actually be able to get to the OpenCode website. Let's see. Yeah. So that's opencode.ai. You won't be able to access it from the UABMC network at the moment. But you can install OpenCode. I have it both on Linux and on Windows. So let me do it on the Windows side. OpenCode. And their website has instructions for doing it. This is OpenCode. I've also installed a set of extensions. I can give a link to that make it a little bit smarter. And I've connected this to a model that I have running on one of anesthesiology servers called Minimax. But you could connect it to, if you have an account with Claude, if you have an Azure account through campus, you could connect it to that. This is not fully approved, but it is actively working its way through the security approval, and we're all very hopeful. So let's just do something like this. Make a folder here and put a simple Streamlit app that takes my name and says, hello, launch it when ready. Let's see what happens. So it's thinking about what it's doing. It's making a little folder called Hello Streamlit. Going into the app, launching the app. Hello, Ryan, Melvin. Okay, so that was very basic, but my team, for example, does everything with Docker. All right, make this a fully containerized app. Let's see if it can figure this out. UV is a package manager, base image. Make it so I can Docker compose up this app. Right, it's going to think about that. That's going to be a little bit more complicated process than actually building the app. But hopefully we'll see it do it. And again, this is actually everything I'm doing right now is running on a server that anesthesiology owns, my home department owns. But you can connect it to Microsoft Azure accounts, which we have done.
The Minimax model is not going China, it's just being hosted here.
Correct. It's Minimax M2.7, which is the largest coding model we can host on our hardware. We can't do DeepSeek V4 Pro, which is, as far as I know, the only thing that beats it at the moment. That would we did the calculations. We'd have to spend $650,000 to run DeepSeek V4 Pro. We spent $50,000 to run this.
Typically, can be used in maybe.
No, but it is working its way through the security. This is the one that's furthest along in the security approval process.
Okay.
So there will hopefully be some kind of announcement, but even the campus chief technology officer is helping push this through.
Yeah.
On the UABMC side, the one that seems most likely to get approved is a product called Google Anti-Gravity.
Yeah.
Again, not approved yet, but it's the one that's furthest along. So I'll show you that. So this is Google Anti-Gravity. There are two products currently called Google Anti-Gravity, and they are not currently the same. So there's one called Google Anti-Gravity CLI, and it is not the same as Google Anti-Gravity 2.0, which is what I'm showing you here.
Yes.
No one knows how to name things, and it drives me crazy. So if you want the best at the moment from Google, it's Google Anti-Gravity 2.0. This is also where I would encourage students, because you can use this on Google's free tier. So you can just use it with your normal Gmail account. You don't have to pay any money. Also, if you're a student, Google, like every other month, offers students a year of their pro plan for free. And sometimes that extends to anybody with a EDU email address. So I got in one of those times, and I have a free year of Google Pro. That extends your limits. Anti-gravity works very much the same way as OpenCode does. And even I have found, I wish I could zoom this, but it doesn't seem like I can. Yeah, I can't make these bigger. I've been using their default dumbest model, and it's also pretty good. So let's do the same thing here. Make a Streamlit app in a new folder. That anybody have something they want the Streamlit app to do? It calculates my GPA for the semester based on letter grades. Launch it when ready. Let me also kill the other one, because otherwise that's gonna. Maybe it'll be fine. This one should go shockingly fast.
The reason why I asked, we can see that restructuring the white power apps, because in this anti-gravity update yesterday, so we can't able to see that these restructured.
But it saves it on your computer.
Yeah, it saves on the wherever.
Yeah, so you could go look at it. All right, still thinking about it. Again, I wish I could make the text bigger for you. But I gave it the same instructions, just I wanted to do something that calculates GPA. So it's thinking about that.
Ryan, question, when you talk about like the anti-gravity 2.0 being the best.
From Google, yeah.
What is the best able to do that the not so best is not able to do as well?
It seems to have a different thinking process. Like I've played with both in the last few days, and this one seems to do a little bit more thinking before acting. The old one seems to go faster to just acting. All right, so here is my.
More complex software.
It's more complex code in the local piece of software. I'll say it that way. Again, that's the distinction for a coding agent. There's a piece of software and there's a model. And it's the piece of software that the UAB lawyers are having a real hard time with. Okay, so here's one. It even set up an example for us. Prior cumulative GPA 3.5, GPA credits earned. I can make this bigger. And then it asked me my courses, my credit hours, my letter grade. Oh no, I actually got a C in this one. And there it updates my GPA, makes a prediction for next semester. That's more than I asked for. So there we go. That was Google Anti-Gravity, and using the dumbest model selected here from the dropdown. if you're on even their pro tier, I want to try to show you this real quick. You will use up your usage pretty quickly. So they give you these bars that tell you how much of each model you've used up. And you can actually use Claude Opus. So you can get a reasonable approximation of Claude code through Google Anti-Gravity. And it looks like what I just didn't take it down too much. Yesterday, I did the same thing and it took down each of these bars by about 20%. So they've made it more generous, it appears. All right, those are the two most likely to be approved in the short term. Folks are actively pushing on the campus side for open code. So if you're like wanting to know what to go learn, I would encourage you to start playing with open code because I think that's the most likely to get approved at UAB the soonest. On the health system side, I think anti-gravity is probably the most likely. Though again, neither are actually approved. And that process is going to take a lot longer. So there's a longer road on the health system side.
No, if Minimax is posted here at UAB, can we not plug that in to any coding agent other than open source? We could be Kilo Code, Open Claude, or any other.
Yeah, any of the open ones. Claude Code you used to be able to do that with, but Anthropic is intentionally breaking other models now. And so you can only use Anthropic models. But yes, you certainly can.
Also, we have 5-hour limits. We don't want that.
Right. But that model is just hosted by my department at the moment. We've been trying to convince research computing to start doing these as a service. So we're hoping we'll get there. What is the monthly cost of anti-gravity? So I'm on one of the free 1-year plans. So I'm not paying anything. If I were paying, I think it was $20 a month. But you can actually access anti-gravity even if you're on the free tier. You will just have lower limits. So you could start playing with anti-gravity now on non-UAB sensitive or restricted data. In fact, even the health system chief information security officers, or chief technology officer said, if your campus chief technology officer has said, if you're using this on public data, they don't have an opinion. So if you're doing something that's entirely public, they don't have an opinion on whether you use it or not. So that's another hint there. All right. Other questions? I can show you the ones that are less likely to be approved, but I'll pause there for a second. Yeah. Okay. My favorite is, in fact, Claude Code. I think it's the overall user experience I enjoy the most. Let's see what this says. Launch it for me. So I do have Claude on my computer, and we can do, it wants my passwords. I clearly trust it. And I can make this one bigger. We could do the same example with it. The thing that I found most useful with Claude is when you're working on those very large projects. So our team, let me show you. Our team maintains a suite of tools that are official UAB tools, by the way. I can show you those, even though that's not the point of the seminar. And our code base is quite extensive. Maybe not as big as some, but this is just for the front end to our tools. Not even all the back ends. Those are all separate repositories. And so we have a description of how each of our pages interacts with our APIs. We have a description of the pages themselves. And so you can see that this, if I wanted to make a big change on this project, I would not want to be copying and pasting all the things into Claude, the web interface. So let's open Claude on this repository. Make it bigger. Let's see, what's something we could do? We recently, I'll undo all these changes later. Recently added a bunch of UAB branding, but I'm defecting to Vanderbilt. Change the branding. And so this would actually require edits across pretty much all of our pages. And so it's going to think about that. So unlike some of the other ones I showed you that are a bit more limited, this one is really going to try to understand the problem. It is going to, you can see right now, it's reading all of the pages that it thinks are relevant. And it's going to really dig into this problem and try to engineer a solution to what I asked it for. The other ones jump a little faster to, let me just start editing. And so they're not as good for really big projects. That's where a lot of people start to like Claude Code because it's big, it's good for those huge projects. But I'll also tell you, it's super expensive. So we've been testing coding agents out with Opus 4.6, which is the model running behind this right now. And since March 6th, our team of developers in our department have spent $20,000 using this. So we're clamoring for things like seat-based solutions where instead we pay $200 per month per user or something like that. But at the moment, we've got a coding agent connected to our Azure health system account, and we've spent $20,000 just in, what is that? A little under 3 months. Which is what we predicted. We actually predicted if we were to give these coding agents to our developers, we would spend about $20,000 a quarter, and we're going to hit that almost exactly. So those are the ups and downs. If you're using something like a UABMC Azure account and you start full rebrand, let's give it the big one. I'm going to spend like $100 just on this demo. So if you connect a coding agent to a UAB Azure account, which you can do, which we've done, you're watching something like that happen here, you will spend a lot of money. You just have to be prepared for that. Matt Might in Precision Medicine spent $40,000 just last month on coding agents connected to UAB Azure accounts. Because if you're doing something big, you need the smartest models, and those get very expensive very, very fast.
Is there a way you can use a lighter model for simpler tasks and then automatically switch to a higher model for complex tasks? In that case, you can maybe offset the cost.
The automatic switching isn't really happening at the moment. We've explored if we could build something on the back end that would watch these requests and try to choose a model. That didn't go so well for us so far. I hope something like that comes. There are solutions like that for chatbots. So we use Microsoft's, it's called Model Router. Again, no one knows how to name things. It chooses the best model for each chat request, but we don't have something like that for our coding agents yet. We may get there. I'm also very impressed overall with how well Minimax has done. Didn't do it. Oh, I don't have Docker on the Windows side. That's why I didn't do it. Fine. Watch it as strings.
This one, right? Does Minimax has vision or just text?
Don't remember.
Like if I drag and drop an image and want to see, look at the image.
Yeah.
Does it work?
No, that works in Claude. I don't remember if this is a vision model. I think it is, but I don't remember. So I've been impressed with how far we've been able to get, spending no additional money beyond our $50,000 we invested on doing things with Minimax. We're not generally offering people access to our local Minimax model, but if someone had like a very special use case, we'd be willing to work something out with you. Any questions there?
So I have a question regarding the local models that you're actually showing. For instance, we're running a bioinformatics pipeline on Chiha. Then there are a bunch of parameters that, for instance, in a step, I want to ask a local agent, local LLM-based agent to choose one parameter. So it would be a combined small portion of the analysis, but still I need to run like GEMO for Minimax or Nematron or whatever it's related. What is the regulation of running that on Chiha, and how can I combine it with my pipeline?
So if you're running it fully locally, I can tell you that the campus leadership, which would research computing falls under, have said they don't care as much if you're running it locally, especially if you're running it on public data. No local models have actually gone through a full licensing process at UAB. I've sent 3 through. I've requested 3. I've requested Nematron, Minimax, and Gemma 4. So we'll see what happens there. But they don't care as much. It's still a gray area. The thing that's really breaking their brains is a large language model is not a piece of software. So we don't license it like software. And yet all of the repositories that hold the models have licenses on them. So we have to do something. But UAB doesn't have a workflow for licensing this thing that isn't hardware and isn't really software. And so they're trying to figure that out. But there is no process for approval, which is why there's no approval at the moment. I'm giving you the like harsh, absolute truth. Do I actually think someone's going to like come and expel you for running Quen or Ematron on Chiha? No. They might tell you to stop. That's the worst I've seen happen to anybody, is they just tell you to stop. Yeah.
I can't believe we're the only university that has this problem. So has any university gotten better at dealing with this issue?
So we've done, at the request of the president's office, my team and my team did a little bit of a deep dive into this question. There are some people who are ahead of us markedly, and it's Hopkins, essentially. Other than that, there are people who claim to be doing more, but when we've actually like gone and looked at their solution, like I've actually looked at Vanderbilt's solution, which they're interested in giving to us. It's not very good, in my opinion. It's further behind than what my team could build if we were told to build a solution. So the big names, yes. Interestingly, University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa has just sort of declared open season. They've given a list of guidelines, but they're fairly broad. And it even says if you're running a model locally, go for it. We don't care. I've talked to some of the leadership here, and they say that UAB is too big to take that risk. We're too subject to regulatory things, especially because we have so many Medicare patients, et cetera, that we just can't take on the risk that UA at Tuscaloosa is willing to take. So we still have to continue through this slow plotting process. But yeah, the big names are beating us by a lot. University of Florida actually has a solution that's deployed. I think we will have one eventually. So I think we'll get to where they are, but we're not where they are yet, if you're looking for like a regional comparison. It's a good question. Other questions about coding agents, whatever? It says it got my app running. Let's take a look.
One other question is it,
Oh.
for project, whether clinical or not, to keep the cost down, is there value to use something like Claude Code, get code, and again, this is 90 questions since I'm less experienced than many people in the room, but to basically then try to ultimately develop what you need and things in Python and just leave the stay on Claude at that point. So is that a way to cut down costs?
I see. Yeah. So if you wanted to ask a large, expensive model and coding agent to make your initial project that needs to be big, and then use something smaller like Minimax, or even there are cheaper Claude models. The cheapest one is called Haiku. You could switch to Claude Haiku in Claude Code or Open Code, and that would be much cheaper. So yes, you could do the manual switching. The automatic switching is not there yet, but you could do the manual switching between them. You could also just try vibe.power apps if you're trying to, the thing I was showing at the start, which is at this web address. Whoop, chat's in the way. And see how far it gets you. Since that's accessible under our UAB Copilot thing. Saw someone else's hand go up. Yeah.
I have heard of what's kind of like coding agents. Yeah, a good experience. It's like taking like a collection of some of their like old code or like their project, and then they're playing out the agent trying to write new code for like a new project. Having that work for you. Your personal style both but I was kind of curious if you tried that, and like I don't really know what the best way to do that would be. Just like grab a collection of old scripts of varying relevance to this object and be like, this is the stuff I've done before.
So what I might do, and what my team did before coding agents came around, is we realized we were replicating patterns across our projects. And so we built a templates repository that if you want to build a machine learning app, we have a template for that. If you want to build a Grad.io app, we have a template for that. If you want to build a desktop application, which we've done a couple of times now, we have a template for that. And we now include instructions for the coding agents on what to do. So we point the coding agents at all of our instructions for them. What I would say now that things like Claude Code are available is point it toward all of your projects and say, take these as an example and make a template. You're probably going to spend like $30 doing that, but then you have the template and maybe it saves you some money in the future.
And related to these instructions, how do you kind of, I don't know, go about or like structure how you write instructions?
Well, our team had to have documentation for our developers anyway, and so we started there. But I would just start writing down what rules you expect other people to follow. What if you have common code, which we have a common code repository. Do you expect them to use that? What do you want people to not implement? Do you have design patterns you want them to follow? How deep do you want to get down that rabbit hole? Or you could point one of these things at all of your current repositories and say, hey, write what you think the rules I'm following are, and then you could edit them. I mean, ours are fairly short, and we broke them out into files because we realized that the coding agents didn't need all of these instructions all the time. So we more have another set that says, if you want to know how to do this, look at this file. If you want to know how to do this, look at this file. So that we're able to reduce our token usage that way as well. And don't edit these files, etc. This template's a public repository, by the way. I can add that to the list of things to send to people. Other questions about coding agents? I can show some other fun things in the 20 minutes we have left.
One other question
Yep.
is, along the lines of that last question is, does how you ask the question within environment make a difference in terms of getting to what you want quicker or wasting time and money?
Yes. So at the moment, I probably wouldn't worry about it too much, especially if you're using a model like Claude Opus. It has like a little bit of a do what I mean element to it, where it will think about what you asked. Now it will spend money thinking about what you asked. Whether that's a whole lot of money, I'm not sure. I haven't really.
But do
Experiment.
other systems that are not quite as good not handle that as well? So
Yeah.
you have to ask the question 3 times before you
Yes.
really get it to understand it.
Yep. That is really the difference, is how many iterations, how difficult it's going to be to explain what you want. Like Minimax, I have to give it very small bite-sized tasks when I'm running it with open code. Claude, I can say, follow our template and build an application that uses an image generation AI to make drafts of posters for conferences. We actually have that. We actually did that. And it did it. And it was very good. And it probably cost us about $150, but it did it without having to pay that time on a developer. All right. More questions about coding agents?
Have any recommendation for any IDE? Like I tried Cursor, Windsurf, but like maybe it's just VS Code, or do you recommend something else?
I still use VS Code. I separate out my coding into a terminal. So I'll have a terminal window and I'll have a VS Code window. A lot of people seem to like the built-in ones, but I actually find that they're more cumbersome to use. Like for some reason, if I try to reference a file, this one won't show me all the files, but the one in my terminal will. I don't know.
Cursor has a bit like an advantage that you can just show the inline, make inline.
Oh, Aider does that too. I've seen that with Aider. I am
If UAB could allow any of that.
right. I think the closest you're gonna get right now would be open code or anti-gravity. And I think there's a open code extension for VS Code. It's not written by the same people, but it's open source. People have made them. So you could try that. And again, if you're working with public data, the message that I continually get is we don't really care. And the worst that happens is information security, at least the worst that's happened to anybody I know, is information security will call you and say, please uninstall it from your computer. And they'll make you stay on the phone until you do it. But that's the worst I've actually heard happen to anyone.
Some of the models, they allow you to enable or disable telemetry. Does it really help if you disable it?
I always disable telemetry just in case.
Is it truly secure? Like they claim it, but I was wondering.
Oh, well, if you're using an open source tool, you could go find out, right? If you're not using an open source tool, you couldn't find out if they're truly turning off the telemetry. Telemetry means that it sends anonymized usage data to whoever made the thing. So most of them have an option to turn that off. Yes.
I it's a little bit about like tools and like skills for the pages, but I didn't really understand what those mean or like in when you would want to define like
Yeah.
a custom.
So for example, I think I can make this one bigger too. Here in open code. Oh, I got too big, took it away. I do have some tools in the form of MCP servers running. So one, if you need to search files, instead of it having to think about the grep commands, there's one that does that. If it needs to do a Google search for some documentation, there's one that does that. Ultimately, what I found tools and skills do is save you tokens, because rather than it having to figure out how to do the thing, you just have a file that's pre-written that tells it how to do the thing. I've also found the best way to start building skills and tokens is to say, hey, what we just did, write a skill for and save it. Hey, what we just did, write an MCP server. You can give the option MCP server or skill for and save it. And then it does it itself. I've had a lot of luck with that.
So
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question regarding that. As far as I understood, MCPs is like a connection between the front end, which is your LLM, or right now the agent, with the back end of the what is happening and the other application. So I have seen people talking about the difference between skills and MCPs in terms of token usage for a specific library. For instance, if you are running, I don't know, ScanPy for single cell analysis, if instead of just making a skill set, a markdown file that says, okay, you have to do a QC, this is the normalization step, and then run the tools. Just make an MCP.
Yeah.
Necessarily for the ScanPy.
Yeah,
Then
that'll save your
run it.
tokens.
Have you tried different?
Yes, I have.
Options?
If you can turn it into MCP, because MCP is just code, you're going to save tokens because it doesn't need to run a command. It doesn't need to write the command. It just hands it off to your code. So that's going to be your most efficient way of doing it. But some things that you might want to skill for are more like making judgment calls in a way that a code can't. So we need to do pull requests. Maybe I have a pull request skill that says, okay, you're going to go look at all of our code guide and you're going to see if the code in the pull request follows it. That's not something you can necessarily code up. Maybe you could do your code formatting that way, but there may be some things like what exactly a function does, how granular your classes get, that you wouldn't be able to necessarily put in code. So skills still have a place. If you can write something as an MCP, which is just a script, really, you'll have a better time and be more efficient. And again, you just ask the tool to write the MCP for you. So I could say, write an MCP for what we just did. Yes.
That I like I've drawn use these for like kind of like coding and stuff, but I find that when I'm working with like a package that or something, it's not familiar with the argument. Something that I've seen recommended is just have like scraping the like documentation for like being needed for it, and then like sticking that in the repo for the
I'll often just pull down the whole repository in that case, and then point my coding agent at the repository and say, here's the code for this thing I want to use. Look there to understand it. Good questions. All right, I'm gonna show you.
Another
Yeah,
question.
go for it.
So Carpentry talked about the concept of knowledge base, which is like making an indexing like a whole repository. We have different papers, different articles, whatever books into a markdown file. Some other people recently talked about making them as HTML file. Have you ever done that, and what do you think about the difference between?
No, I haven't worried about it. Part of that is my team is well funded to play with these things, so we really haven't gotten that deep into like I need to absolutely minimize my token usage. So I just haven't had the market pressure to force me to explore those things yet. Maybe I will.
Regrets.
Yeah, I get that. You all will be the ones that figure out how to make these things super efficient because you are worried about that. Or convince your PI to spend between $50,000 and $650,000 to run your own local model. That's the real trick. All right, I want to show a couple more things that have happened recently that are not coding agents. So I have been the first in line to complain about how bad Copilot is. But I will tell you, as of about last Wednesday, it suddenly got very good. Even if you're not paying for the upgraded license, you can currently switch to some pretty powerful models like GPT-5.5. Can I make this bigger? Nope. So much for accessibility, Microsoft. All right, so right here, GPT-5.5 I can switch it to the Think Deeper model, which is going to be the most powerful model OpenAI has. So I can do GPT-5.5, Think Deeper, and I can now talk to it for free through my campus or UABMC Copilot, all of which are blessed for everything except patient data. Again, you have to email this address if you want to use it with patient data and explain to them what you want to do, and then they tell you yes or no. But if you want to just have a chatbot that's pretty good, we now have one through Copilot. If you pay for the upgraded license, which there'll be a button over here that explains how. So you can pay for the upgraded license and you get things like the PowerPoint agent, which I have been shocked at how good it is. So this is going to take a second to load. I gave it a couple of my papers and said, turn these into PowerPoints, and like for a journal club. It asked me a couple of questions. So let's see. It said, who is your audience? It looks like on this one I checked maybe medical professionals. How many slides? Do you want more text or more visuals? What do you want it to look like? And then, come on. Made a PowerPoint. And I haven't read every single word, but it looks right. It looks like it got the stuff out of my paper and put it here. I've even seen it try to extract figures. I think this is the one where that happened. You'd think with it being Microsoft, loading a thing from a database would not be so slow. But you can see it tried to pull out the figures. That needs to be cropped better, but there's a figure that was actually from the paper. Here's another one that was actually from the paper. And I can actually edit this. I just click the button. Here it is in PowerPoint. I could crop this to how it needs to actually look, right? Etc. So that's in Copilot. There's also one for Excel. You can have it analyze a spreadsheet and tell you what's going on, pick out the patterns. There's one for Word. The tagline is make a word with your words. But that's really what it does is I need a Word document describing a status update, describing these findings, whatever. You need to check the details, but I'm impressed. I'm impressed with how good Copilot suddenly got compared to the others and what you can do if you pay for the upgraded license, which is available both on the health system and the campus side. I have both upgraded licenses. It's $360 on the campus side. It's $150 on the health system side. I don't know why they're different. You just have to ask your respective IT team to get it for you and pay for it, obviously.
What's the limit each, is it that you've spent enough time and then you hit a wall? and
Yeah,
you can't do
exactly,
anything
like the
further
others.
until next year?
Until I think tomorrow.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah, it's daily limits.
Daily.
Yep. You can even build your own agents, which is a little cumbersome, but I built one that summarizes PDFs. It's not that impressive. All right, that's what's in Copilot now. Any questions there? Even if you're not paying for the upgraded license, I would encourage everyone to go check out Copilot again. It got really good last week compared to how good it's been before. Still not at like Claude web levels, but very, very good. And if you do happen to pay for the upgraded license, you can access Claude, which I think someone talked about earlier. So I can talk to Claude right here, Claude Opus. Not Claude Code though, but Claude. All right, we're almost out of time. I see one question in the chat. Could you clarify if RC computing allows Claude Code and Chiha on public data? I received an answer no. So I've been told by the school leadership, if you're using it on public data, they don't care. But again, we've had information security people reach out and tell us to stop. So you're right. It is confusing. And we're hearing different answers from different people. That was from Laura Anov. Yep. Other questions? All right, I think we're good then. Thank you all for your attention. I hope that was helpful and interesting. Thanks.